It is the biggest crisis of our lifetime, the crisis around pricing of fuel. It's hit the entire world, but particularly it's hit Ghana very hard. In our case, it's slightly unique to the others because, yes, everywhere else is experiencing increased fuel prices, but here, the exchange rate situation has made it even worse. And so many are feeling it quite severely. And so as you heard the president say over the weekend on Sunday, there are some measures that they are pursuing. Tonight we're going to open up and do some analysis of that for you. So let's get to it. What do we know so far? So this is what the president said over the weekend. In a sense, starting by giving us a sense that he feels our pain. But because he is the president, feeling our pain isn't enough. He needs to solve that problem. So what did he say he would do? He's dispatched a government delegation. We know that delegation is out there looking for reliable, regular sources of affordable, and for me that's a key thing, affordable petroleum products for the Ghanaian market. We're going to analyze that a bit more tonight because at the heart of this crisis is a fuel prices. If the prices are okay, the pressure on all of us will ease. Have you seen the pumps lately? It's astonishing, and we're all feeling that. I'll come to the specifics of it very shortly. Now, on the back of this announcement, there is a government delegation made up of representatives from the Energy Ministry. We know that the Deputy Energy Minister, Evans Mensah, is part of this delegation. They are in Abu Dhabi. We also have a rep from the BOST, the Bulk Oil Storage Transportation company, also there. And we also have a rep from the MPA. They are leading the government delegation, having a conversation with ADNOC. And by the way, that's the Abu Dhabi Petroleum Corporation, hopefully getting a deal that will bring us to this country affordable but reliable supply of petroleum products. Many watchers and industry players have said this is one promise that will prove nearly impossible to achieve. Well, we'll see about that because the delegation is still there. If you talk to them, you're very confident that the deal will be struck and Ghana will get the reliable, affordable supply of fuel that will require. Okay, so their confidence is one thing, but what is the reality? We'll try and walk you through that pretty shortly. But there's something else that I want you to pay attention to before we sit down and have a conversation, because we're talking about fuel after all. The astronomical jump in the price of fuel is what I'm exhibiting for you, because we go to January, which you see in the yellow there. The petrol was 6 cedi, 8 pesos. 6 cedis. This is January. Tonight, as we speak, this is from the recognized ones, the cheapest you can get is 17.99 average. Some are above this, some are below this slightly, but that is what we are talking about, 17.99. January, it's 6 cedi, 8 pesos. November 1, 17.99. This is 18 cedis really. Go to diesel, 6.8 in January. Currently, 23 cedis, 49 pesos. That's what you see there. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, let me just make it easier for you to appreciate what I'm saying. This is what you were seeing in January. It's just astonishing just to think about it, right? That just in January, 10 months ago, 6 cedis. We are talking about this now for petrol, 23 for diesel. That's how bad it's been this year for a country as poor as Ghana, with a lot more people struggling already to try and feed themselves and their families. Right, in percentage terms, diesel has gone up by 260%. Petrol has gone up by 160%. In a year. Let's begin to chew on that for me before I sit down and have a conversation with those who know this better than I do. And then it has a ripple effect on everything else through transportation, because the food you eat, I like gobe, right? And the beans that I buy, the prices have gone up because the market woman who is carting the beans from the farm, wherever it is that they grow it in this country, has to put the beans in sacks and in a vehicle, and the vehicle transported to Accra. The woman who sells it for me around the corner here will have to go to the market and buy it, and he's buying expensively because the fuel prices have gone up, and everybody else is going to now put extra on what they are selling. So the transfer fares are a major thing. Just speak to the statistical service. Each time they release their inflation figures, transport fares is a key factor in the prices going up on the market almost every single day when you go to buy your stuff. And it's no surprise when you do the percentages, your jaw begins to drop. Transport fares have gone up 60% since January. 60% since January. And you actually could argue that the private transport operators have been charitable, because when fuel prices have gone up, as I showed you, a 160% increase in prices of fuel or transport prices just by 60%, you could just begin to appreciate that it could have been more, right? As they say, in crisis, you count your blessing. I bet this is one of those. And if you look at it, in February, it went up 15%, in May 20%, in October 25%. By the way, we haven't seen or heard the last of this. Already, we're hearing murmuring among the ranks of private operators, transport operators, that they will have to increase it again pretty soon on the back of the recent increases that we saw, I believe, yesterday. And so we wait to see what happens. But there are measures that as a country we put in place for times like this. One of them is the price stabilization and recovery levy. We had anticipated, as a country, we're so exposed to global shocks. And so we passed a law that says that we will all contribute something, put it in a fund. So in times like this, we can put our hands in that fund, take money, and use that money to cushion us all. 3 things we said we'll do with that money: buffer for under-recoveries in the petroleum sector, to stabilize petroleum prices for consumers, which is really where we are right now. If ever we needed this more than ever before, this is the time to stabilize the prices for us, because prices keep changing now almost on a daily basis. And also to subsidize premix fuel and residual fuel oil. Now, the MPA did a press conference today, and they announced and explained that they now have to remove the subsidy on residual fuel. Residual fuel is a fuel that the industries use in powering their plants, right? So the government took a decision, it's a policy decision sometime back, when we placed it into law, that we will subsidize residual fuel for the industries, because every country, you need to put in place policies to spur on industrialization, and then also subsidize premix fuel, right? But government says, and the MP announces this today, and we're going to be speaking to the MP pretty shortly, that for some time now, we have failed to use the money that we've accrued to actually pay for this subsidy. What it means is that suppliers say, we can't supply the residual fuel anymore because you're not paying the subsidies. We cannot operate at the loss. So that then led to a shortage of residual fuel in the market. Industries began to cry. We need the residual fuel to power plants. We can't get it because suppliers say they won't provide it because government cannot, provide the subsidies. So they've suspended these subsidies. The question, though, is we have already collected funds for this to happen. But residual fuel subsidies have now been suspended. And as we hear tonight, suppliers are beginning to now release stocks to the industry. The industries have been forced now to accept that they'll have to bear the full cost of the residual fuel so they can get regular supply, right? So it's really between a rock and a hard place. Do you accept to deal with shortages so you can power your plants, or you accept to pay more so you get it? And they've accepted to pay more so they can have access. So that's the situation we are. That's where we are tonight with residual fuel. Very important fuel for the industries. All the industries we have in this country rely on that to operate. And then it comes to me and you, consumers. A part of this law, the government was supposed to use it to stabilize the prices for us. Again, government can't do that. Even the residual fuel situation tells you the money is depleted, isn't there. But where is it? And how much have we raised over the period? Let's get into that, because I've been trying to dig into this. If you look at the price stabilization recovery levy, according to the revenue target for 2022, we budgeted for 2022 to raise 816 million CDs. The provisional, numbers that we're seeing puts it quarter one and quarter two together at 798 million CDs, which clearly means as we speak tonight, this could be more, right? So you have to ask the question, where is this money? Where is it? And the plus that we possibly still have now. We'll get into that when we said that. I know the minority members have asked a lot of questions on this. And if you look at this graph, it tells you over the period from 2016 to now, we've been accruing funds, money in the fund for the stabilization and recovery levy. So what have we used all this money for? Because the law was passed specifically for that purpose. We'll sit down and have that conversation. My guests are joining me to look into this a bit more today on this all-important subject to the fuel prices. After the break, we'll get into the specifics. Please stay with me. And thanks for staying with us here on PM Express. Listen, this is a conversation that everybody is having. If you think it doesn't affect you, it does. The food on your table is determined by how much you pay at the pumps. So I'm affected, everybody else is. Everybody's trying to understand what is happening, but how can we get out of this? Can we? The solutions are on the table. The president has suggested a few. Let's dissect that tonight with the industry players. Joining me in the studio is Daisy Atu-Jabbar. She's the head corporate and industry operations, Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. Thank you very much, Daisy.
Thank you, Evan.
Also joining me is Mohammed Abdul Kudus, and they held a press conference today. I'll talk to him about that specifically, also because of the part of the industries and the residual fuel issue, our inability to pay as you heard me at the beginning, the subsidies for residual fuel, that has been suspended now. It all feeds into the general crisis, and he'll talk to us about that, the communications manager at the MPA. Remember that the MPA is part of the team already in Abu Dhabi trying to negotiate affordable, reliable supply of petroleum products. I'm delighted tonight also to be joined by a man who used to be the head of the MPA and then subsequently the GMPC. He understands this industry very well, and I want to tap into that knowledge in this conversation. Alex Mould is my guest, joining me via Zoom tonight. I'm grateful, Mr. Mould, for your time here on PM Express. And then finally today, there was a press conference by the minority in Parliament, addressed by the minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Junapo, who obviously raised a few issues, suggested some solutions to the current problem, immediate short-term measures that they believe could help cushion all of us. I'll get him to expand on their thoughts with me pretty shortly. We've heard the president already. I want to start first with the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. Reason is simple. I mean, pretty much all that you buy at the pumps, they bring it in, make it possible for the OMCs to sell to you. Daisy, please help us first with the current landscape of sourcing products for the Ghanaian market. How challenging is it?
Okay, thank you, Evans. So basically what the BDCs, who are the members of my chamber, do is source for fuel from the international markets, bring that fuel to Ghana for us to buy at the pump, for us to be able to power our cars and industries and go to work and all that. But we buy our products in dollars, right? And bring it to Ghana. Obviously, we can't sell in Ghana in cedis, in dollars, sorry. So we translate that FX into cedis and sell to OMCs. So OMCs buy from us in cedis, sell to us, buy from BDCs in cedis, sell to us, the consumers in cedis, get their money back in cedis and pay BDCs back, right? But BTCs went to the international market to buy the product in USD. So the cedis they've earned has to be translated into FX and sent back to pay the suppliers. Okay, so that's where the problem is. So if we all know what has happened with the with the CD, the depreciation, how high it's been, how fast it's depreciated. That is where the problem lies. We don't have enough FX to be able to pay our suppliers. So beginning of the year, BOG came in, fantastic job of providing guaranteed FX to the industry. But the problem here again is that they are not able to supply everything that we need. So
how much do you need and how much are you getting?
So on average, we need about 400 million USD to be able to bring monthly, right?
$400 million.
Yes, a lot of money.
Wow.
I hope you and I will be able to see that amount one day. But that is a huge sum of money, which BOG is able to do about $120 million.
So you need 400 million. BOG is only
currently
giving you 120 million.
Yes.
So that leaves you in excess of $280 million.
Yes, exactly.
How are you filling that gap?
So you need to go to your commercial bank. If there are any other source you can get legally, so you go to commercial banks, other people who trade in FX, maybe you have deals with them to be able to get FX, to be able to pay your suppliers, right? But the problem here is BOG gives us a good rate, right? It's way lower than what the market or what the commercial bank would give us. But it's only still meeting only 30% of what we actually need. So that rate, that concessionary rate that BOG gives is not able to translate into pricing. Because if I'm supposed to get 100, I get 30. And my 70, so assuming BOG gives me a rate of currently, let's say 12, and I have to go to the market and get a 15 or 16. When I put those two together, I'll still be hovering around 15, let's say. It really won't make a dent in what I need to be able to price lower for us to consume.
So the BOG's inability to give you all is increasing your cost because you have to access it in other places where it's far more expensive to access the dollar. Even commercial rates, in commercial banks will not sell it to you what you get at the BOG, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you see also, we've been able to manage that in the past because the CD hasn't depreciated at this rate, right? You bear with me that maybe a week or two ago, it just went like 13, 14, 15, it was just climbing.
On an hourly basis, it was.
Exactly. So you could lock in your product at, let's say, 12, 13, and then by the time you sold and gotten your money back, it's at 15. Well, who covers that $2 difference? So
help me understand this. So the current challenge we're having in Ghana with the pricing of the product at the pumps, is it fundamentally because crude oil prices on the international market has gone up? Or for us, it's primarily because of our FX challenges?
So it's a combination of everything. Okay. So
which is the greater, would you say?
I would say the rate of depreciation is higher because then you're not able to adequately predict your risk or factor in what actual rate you have to use in your pricing. So that's the reason why we're seeing increasing prices like regularly at the stations, and everybody was complaining, right? But then there's also the factor of international prices going up. There's inflation everywhere, not just in Ghana. So the prices of petrol and diesel have gone up. I think diesel has gone up about 90% since the beginning of the year, maybe 30% for petrol. That also translates to our pricing here. So it's not just the FX rate, but it's also the price of the product on the international market.
Alex Mold, this is the BDC speaking there. They need 400 million. They are getting 120, is it?
Yeah,
from the BOG. And fundamentally, she says, the greater challenge is the FX. I mean, comment on that for me. You're an industry player. You've been in the NPA, GMPC, used to analyze this. That really is at the heart of the problem, is it?
It has always been at the heart of the problem, and there's always been a solution. And the solution is to get Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance to make an allocation for this very essential commodity. It is either number one or number two on the list of any government, and they need to ensure that there is never a shortage of foreign currency for these two essential products.
So, having understood that then, how then do you analyze the government short-term solution the president communicated to us, which is to explore from the international market affordable, reliable supply of petroleum products? And as we speak tonight, we know that there's a delegation already in Abu Dhabi negotiating a deal. How do you reconcile the strategy when you juxtapose that to the real challenge we just talked about?
Okay, first of all, I don't have any intelligence that tells me that there's any delegation in Abu Dhabi negotiating. Secondly, there is no shortage of supply of petroleum products in the world. There is enough petroleum products that meets the demand in the world. So reliability of supply is not a problem. The problem lies with the payment mechanisms we have. And I will explain something to you that maybe it will make very clear why we are in this particular problem. The BDCs buy the fuel from their suppliers in the international markets. There are maybe no more than 4 major suppliers that supply 90% of all our petroleum products in West Africa, not only Ghana, in the whole of West Africa. We're talking about Trafigura, Vitol, Glencore, and British Petroleum, BP. These suppliers sell petroleum products and give credit to the buyers, either through a letter of credit or a supplier's credit. The problem is they give them too many days as credit. When a cargo of petroleum products, which is about 35,000 metric tons, arrives in the country, it is sold within a week. And as such, they should be able to collect the money and repatriate the money to the supplier within a month. These suppliers, because of market forces, give up to 120 days credit. That means that the BDCs land the products in the country, sell the product to the oil marketing companies, and the oil marketing companies are also giving unnecessary long credit. People play with the money and they are not able to, and when there is a spike in foreign exchange losses occur. I don't see why anybody will give 120 days for a product that can be sold, money collected, foreign exchange obtained within 60 days. This is one of the problems we face in the industry. We have some structural problems in the industry which needs to be fixed, and that is MPA's job. MPA needs to ensure that there is a cross-default mechanism that any BDC or oil marketing company that delays in making payments is put on the blacklist and is not supplied product by anybody. This will bring some discipline into the industry. So that is one of the problems. A lot of people collected products 3 months ago. They have the CDs now, but they don't have the dollars to transfer the money. They still have credit due, so they are not overdue in terms of payments to the suppliers. The problem we have now, there is an unrealized loss. And when they get the foreign exchange, you find out that because the CD has depreciated from, let's say, 10 CDs to 14 CDs, there is, a substantial loss that these BDCs have on their books, and it will be with the suppliers. Very shortly, the credit companies of these suppliers are going to shut any supply to these BDCs or to Ghana on a whole, because when the credit is not paid, you find out that the credit departments of these suppliers.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, you made a point there that startled me, which is that because of the challenges you just identified, suppliers may be withholding supply to us.
Absolutely. Not only that, if they come to Ghana and you cannot open a letter of credit because you do not have, there's a credit crunch in the industry as well, they will divert products. And I am sure when the spokesman of MPA comes, he will confirm that a few cargoes have been diverted to other countries because the BDCs have not been able to open letters of credit. Also because their credit lines have been closed by these foreign traders. So there is an imminent shortage in the country if foreign currency is not made available so that the exposures that these BDCs have will be minimized to enable them get more credit from these suppliers. There is a credit crunch right now in the industry.
I see. Let me bring in the MPA's spokesperson into this. Kudos. At the MPA, what's your information on ability to source bulk supply of the product for the market in sufficient quantities that will ensure that for long term, short and long, medium term, we don't run into shortages, as Alex has just hinted.
Thank you very much, and good evening to my colleagues on your show. For now, there hasn't been any information available to me about any possible shortage of petroleum products. You would agree with me that myself and you have had this conversation since, I think, April this year, when this particular suspicion of fuel shortage has actually come up. And largely, it is based on what it takes to really bring the product into the country. And so, like my boss, once the former chief executive remains the chief executive, as he has actually posited, once the forest is not able to be raised and the appropriate instruments are not available to allow the cargo to deliver, it certainly will not be able to get that particular product into your account. But the portal that have visibility.
Forgive me. So what is that to confirm? Is that to confirm that some cargo have been diverted to other countries because we didn't meet the dates for the payment of the credit?
No, what I said is that I don't have the information that he has actually just shared. What I know and the visibility that I have mostly has to do with the available quantity of petroleum products that we have at a particular given point in time and how long it would actually be around to be able to sustain the demand that we probably will be having as a country. And what I've seen as at today, this morning, there hasn't been any eminence of a shortage in the future. What I have is that we have enough in stock to be able to take us before the next line of Lacan is actually allowed to deliver fuel. So I cannot speak to the issue of a diversion or inability to raise instruments to be able to take custody of whatever cargo that came to our shores. I don't have that information, but all I can speak about is the volume that we have currently, whether it is enough to really guarantee us within the foreseeable future. I would say yes to that. And I believe that Daisy, who is in your studio, speaking from Seaboard, might be able to collaborate the figures that we have relative to the quantity of fuel available for us as a country.
Let me ask you, Kudus. Currently, as we speak, what are the measures that the MPA is currently considering in an attempt to help with the pricing challenges we're seeing at the pumps? Do you have any information on the success or otherwise on the talks to try and secure affordable petroleum products for the market?
You mean what has been reported out there about the Dubai trip, or is it UAE trip?
I mean, generally, I mean, in the context of what the president announced, that the attempt is being made now to secure affordable products for the market.
Oh, I'm not seized with any briefing to the effect of the discussion of bringing in affordable product. I'm not seized with that. As and when I have that information, I would gladly share, but I don't have that. And if it is about what the MPA is doing to bring a certain effect on price at the pump, minded by our regulation, our and what is it that we can do, you would agree with me that we do not have a direct relationship to the variables that basically determine the prices. And like Daisy rightly put it, the critical elements that are driven forward as we speak has to do with the cost of the product on the international market and the cost of the CD to the dollar, which do not lie within the MPA to be able to determine or control and be able to.
And bottom line, this is also a deregulated market. So, I mean, it's a market forces determining the prices. I want to bring in John Junapop really quickly. John, I mean, to the solutions now. you are the press conference today because at the heart of these big conversations is the immediate reprieve, immediate cushioning of the consumer suffering. You suggested a few interventions, and it's good. It's okay to point out that all the suggestions you put forward didn't include trying to source affordable products. We'll come to that. You say use windfall, use price stabilization levy as cushioning in the immediate term. Expand on that for me.
First of all, why do you source that affordable product? Because in the refinery business, you are faced with two issues. The price of crude is determined, the world market price. Secondly, the cost of selling is regulated. That's the downstream. So you are faced with two risks, upstream, downstream. Only way a refinery can do better is if that refinery is efficient. And that efficiency gives you a very minimal level of leverage. And so if Ghana wants to sell its crude at world market price, at competitive price, why would Ghana believe that it can get finished products at a discount when you are not ready to sell your crude at a discount? That's why we discounted the issue of going for a so-called cheaper price. Unless maybe some payment terms, maybe it's a 90-day credit, a country might decide to give you 120-day. That doesn't amount to cheaper products. First of all, the problem we are facing is the issue of the Forex. That's a major problem. Or if the BDCs require 400 and you are providing just 30% of what they require, they might only import 30% worth of what Bank of Ghana is giving them, or they go to the Forex and let's face it, let's be blunt, they go to the black market to look for the Forex, and that comes at a premium. So today, some of them are using $18, 18 cedis to the dollar, when the Bank of Ghana is putting 13 cedis. So the Bank of Ghana must use every opportunity to look for Forex in order to reduce that burden. That will lessen the speculation, that will lessen the risk going forward. That is one. Two is that we've made it clear that contrary to what we're expecting from our petroleum revenues, and bear in mind, we normally get petroleum revenues from our carried interest, that is our share, royalties, from our taxes, and from surface rental. All this put together, the minister projected 6.6 billion. In just 3 months, we've gotten over 8 billion. That is an unprecedented windfall. I've never witnessed that in my life in this sector. So that's a huge windfall. Already we are paying full cost of the petroleum products. Government is not subsidizing even 1 cedi. In fact, we are even paying more because the BDCs are front-loading their risk. So we hold the view that having gotten these huge windfalls, something can be done. But even more important, the price stabilization and recovery levy is meant for 3 items, and you've enumerated them, so I don't want to go into them. We projected 260 million, like you are saying, for the first 2 quarters. We got about 800 million. That's a huge amount. That's about 600 million difference. So what I was expecting NPA to tell us is that of that 800 million, we applied X amount to subsidize petroleum products. They should be telling us today, because they keep the records. All we are hearing is the money is not available, the money is not available. And I have records here, 20 ESLA performance, 2016 to 2020, annual report on the management of the energy sector levies. Price stabilization levy, we're expecting 2.2 billion. Actual utilization was 1 billion. Even the lodgement was 1.5 billion. Actual utilization 1 billion. So where is the 500 million? We are talking of outturns. We are not talking of projections. 500 million cannot be accounted for. And if you read the reports in detail, they've used this 500 million to pay for pensions and other non-petroleum related activities. That is why we are cautioning government that apply those revenues to their intended purpose. I wish I could share this data with you, but unfortunately, there's no opportunity to share. I just downloaded from Statistica the average monthly Brent crude oil price from September 2020 to September 2022. And I just got even the latest figure for this month. If you look at Brent, in January, just a moment, even as I talk to you, I'm pulling January was $86.5 in terms of the price of Brent per barrel. Today, as we speak, it's just about the same figure. So if the world oil market price is the main reason for price increment, we should be doing about the same. And yet today, diesel is about 300%. I mean, no company can survive this. And bear in mind, petroleum products like energy, in energy economics, is an input. Nobody drinks petrol, nobody comes. You need it in order to attain a certain activity. So if your petroleum products have risen in less than a year by more than 300%, it behooves on government to step in and stabilize the situation. Government can do something based on the revenues I've provided to you if it is willing. It is the issue of prioritization. If government sees petrol, diesel, and non-petroleum products as an essential commodity and steps in to halt the astronomical increments, it will have a cascading effect on the entire value chain. And that's why we are calling on government to do. And we believe that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, Daisy, let me come to you at the BDCs. On that, still talk about interventions. You have sourced, products for this economy for so long. The government now says, the president announced it, the solution that you're pursuing is to source affordable products on the market, something that you've been involved in doing, for so long. What's the view of the BDC, of the chamber, on that approach that the president announced?
Well, everybody would like to affordable products, yes. If that would translate into lower prices, right? If we could get lower priced products, we would. The price we get the products on the international market is not determined by us. You go to Platts, you go to Argos, the prices are there. So that is the price on the market. One way that we can get maybe something cheaper will be to look at getting something that has a higher ppm. So if you remember, in 2017, we reduced our sulfur content to 50 ppm, right? But products that have higher sulfur contents are cheaper. So for example, if you go for something that's higher than 50 ppm, you might save, per analysis, about $50 per metric ton. So that can be an option. The government can waive through the MPA that maybe for a certain period up to the end of the year, because of the rising prices, we can decide that let's go back to maybe 1,500, because that's what is being done in the sub-region. We are actually the only country in the sub-region doing the lowest ppm, right? I think Nigeria is doing 1,005, others are doing 500. So if we are able to do that, we'll be able to source cheaper. That's the way we can get cheaper, but that's the way BDCs can get cheaper products if we are allowed to go for a higher sulfur content product. Apart from that, we don't control the international market price. It's we go and that's the price we are given, and we buy and we bring, try to manage our risks and all that to get the right price to be able to recoup our investments. But apart from that, I wouldn't know how else to achieve that.
I mean, Alex Moore, just give me a comment on that approach now. We've had a BDC, we've had John. First of all, is it possible, knowing what you know, for a country like Ghana to access and secure affordable petroleum products on the international market at this time?
Definitely not from the international markets. Ghana could, if we had wonderful relationships with Russia, wonderful relationships with other countries, they may give you a grant, but it will be a very small grant. It may be one cargo or two cargos, like we had from Libya in the 80s. While from a sustainable period, that's not going to happen. I've been in nearly 40 years in this business. Everybody buys from the international markets. There are a number of traders who control the market. 95 to 100% of our product comes from Antwerp, Rotterdam, and Amsterdam. All the tank farms there, the refineries there. It is the area that everybody in West Africa buys from. There is no cheap cargoes. Let me make this very clear. There is no cheap cargoes anywhere in the world unless there are embargoes to those countries like Russia right now, or countries are, have distressed cargoes they want to sell, and that doesn't happen very often. So there are no cheap cargoes. I don't even understand what our president means by affordable. Affordable to who? The question is, are we going to get discounts from the international markets? And the answer is no. Nobody's going to sell you discounts. As John Jenapor just said, he said, you're not selling your crude oil at a discount. Why would somebody sell their products to you at a discount? So let us get that out of our minds. There's not going to be any cheap petroleum products hanging anywhere. I get calls every day from businessmen, from traders locally here who are trying to buy cheap cargoes on the market. These are all scams. There are no cheap cargoes. Nigeria doesn't sell to Ghana crude oil cheaply. They sell it based on the price they sell to every other trader. They may give us 5 to 10 cents discount on the crude oil, but they will not be giving us, $20 discount or $15 discount. So let us get that out of our minds. And I don't know who is advising the president. It was wrong for him to come and say he's going to get affordable to make people in this country believe that it can happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have any cheap products coming into the country. If you do, you may have it for 1 or 2 cargoes, but you can't have it on a sustainable basis. Secondly, the biggest problem this country is going to face in the next few months is the credit crunch. And the government needs to face this problem, having Bank of Ghana, the BDCs, and the NPA work at this very, very well to make sure that we don't get blacklisted. The BDCs don't get blacklisted. I even heard that BOSS is trying to import products. Everybody needs letters of credit. Everybody is chasing the same foreign exchange. Bank of Ghana and the government of Ghana need to address the foreign exchange problem that is required by these BDCs. You've heard that they need about $400 million. They don't get that from the commercial banks. Most of it is to come from Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana is to ensure that we do so. The biggest problem we are facing right now is because nobody knows what the Forex price is going to be in 3 months' time when they want to change the CDs that they have sold in the last 2 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks. Nobody knows what the foreign exchange is going to be in 3 months' time. And as such, the BDCs are speculating that the price could be 17 or 19 CDs to the dollar. My question, Evans, is why is GOIL, the national oil company, where government controls the board and controls the management, why are we selling gasoline or diesel at $23.49 when a company like Allied is selling it for $18.69? That is the question I want to ask. Why can't GOIL get government of Ghana to give it foreign exchange? Because GOIL controls maybe about 15% or 20% of all the supply in the country. I don't understand how GOIL is charging as 23.
Alex, I recall early this year, there was this urgent meeting in Jubilee House where the GPLT was holding, and they came to an arrangement where through GOIL, they were going to reduce GOIL prices to a certain mark for the transport operators. In fact, the next morning, I did a show here where they came from the meeting straight to the show, and the prices went down at GOIL. Subsequently, GOIL prices have gone way back up to the levels of everybody else. And so obviously that plan was pursued and didn't work.
It was a political plan, as you know, and that means GOIL was going to take a hit for a few months. It's not sustainable, as you saw. No company can sustain it, especially when you have other shareholders. So you cannot do that. But the problem GOIL faces right now, the problem, let me explain something. The problem GOIL and many of the BDCs face right now is that on their books, they have a huge Forex loss, which is not yet materialized. And as such, they need to recoup some of these losses. And that is why they have increased their prices. My question to NPA is, why did they allow this to happen when Bank of Ghana interbank exchange rate is around 14 cedis? If you calculate 14 cedis, you calculate the international prices that NPA has given us of $1,200 per metric ton. and you add all the levies and things, you shouldn't be above 21 cedis. So my question is, why have you allowed GOIL and all the other BDCs to move to 23.49? And this is a question the PRO, my understanding is he went on City FM, I don't know whether it's true, and said that it's to enable them recoup some of their losses. So
let me get Kudus.
The consumer is paying
let me get Kudus
price right now because they want to recoup losses.
Yeah.
Losses
let me get Kudus to respond to that.
Has made them incur these losses, and now citizens like you, Evans, and me, and the chap sitting at my good old friend sitting at NPA have to pay for the sins of this government not making foreign exchange available to the BDCs. And that is the issue.
Kudus, let me get Kudus to respond to that for me.
Yes, even so, there was a question about whether or not the 2 weeks window pricing mechanism has actually been suspended because many saw OMCs review prices more than once, which was abnormal, not usual of the policy. And the explanation was that, and I think Daisy touched on it briefly. Within last weekend, if you remember, the cedi was depreciating against the dollar almost on a daily basis. So if you were to ask the OMCs to wait until the 2 weeks window cycle, okay, to adjust their prices, you certainly would have been eroding their capital, and which could affect their capacity to still bring the product into the market so you and I can get to buy. So there was a reality that was staring us on the face. Do you still are forced to the adherence of the 2 week window, or you actually live to the reality and agree with the marketers that there was the need to accordingly adjust their prices so they can stay in business and still be able to maintain their capital? But it was not as though there was any communication to the effect that the policy was suspended. No. But we had a reality that stared at us on the face, and there was the need for us to be able to live up to expectation.
Okay. So Kudus, clarify for me. So as we speak tonight, the OMCs, are they still allowed to change the prices as and when to reflect the depreciation cedi?
Everything that they would wish to do, they must still come to us for a confirmation before they can go ahead and do whatever they want to do. So it is not as though it's a blanket check, a free market, anybody does whatever he wants. Yes, we are minded by the reality, we are minded by the changing prices of the cedi to the dollar, but they still would have to come to us and convince us why a certain position has to be taken. When we agree, then they go ahead. Until we agree, they will certainly not be able to do what they want. So it is not as though they go and buy their product and decide to sell how much they wish to sell it on the market.
Daisy, clarify something for me. Alex raised the issue about the BDC's ability now to meet your credits that the suppliers have extended to you. Are you meeting that, and what's the situation there?
So for the most part, we are unable to, because you need FX to be able to pay the supplier.
So the most part,
supplier will not take CDs.
Pay the debt you owe.
So you need dollars, you need FX to be able to pay your supplier. So that's why we keep on calling on the BOG, the government through the BOG, to increase FX supply to our sector and to also guarantee the FX. Because
but that hasn't happened yet, has it?
Not yet. We keep having meetings, and I know they are working behind the scenes.
So the supplies that you currently owe, I mean, how big is the debt now that you're having to bear?
I don't have the exact figure, but yes.
But there's debt that the BDCs
yes,
owe
there's debt. There's debt. It might not have crystallized, as Mr. Mode said, but we need to prepare to be able to pay that debt. So once the supply is increased, the rate is guaranteed. The rate being guaranteed will reduce the speculation. So then, like Mr. Mode said, you wouldn't put an 18 when you know that you've been guaranteed a price of 12.
Are suppliers still committed in the context of what you just explained to still give us supply?
We are still importing products. We haven't had any cancellation of contracts. There's still products in the country. There's no shortage imminent. And once the BOG is able to increase supply, guarantee FX, and all the other measures that are being put in place, we should be fine. Yes.
And very, very quickly to John. John, you are a member of parliament, and so you wield the setting authority that none of us around this table have on, deploying some of that power to get government to just respect the law when it comes to the price stabilization levy and what it should be used for, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder whether we're going to see a certain move there in Parliament to use some of your powers to get this implemented. Sorry, John, you're muted, please.
I'm not muted.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now, yeah.
We will, but there's another angle. You and I pay about 9 pesos per liter. Every liter you buy, which is supposed to go to BOST. BOST is supposed to have 12 weeks of strategic reserves. So that when we have difficulty like we are facing, when BDCs are facing challenges with Forex, they can, through the BDCs, release some products. What is BOST doing in all this? All these huge monies, and I'm looking at their audited account, over 1 billion in revenues. What is BOST's role in all this? They will probably have to scrap that BOST margin because it's providing us with virtually nothing. Then the issue of 23, it beats my imagination. And I think the MPA boss should set up and stop those awards and look at it critically. If you look at the Forex currently, and you even do a mark-to-market situation, no OMC should be selling diesel at 23 cedis per liter. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I thought that what the MPA would do a market sound and tell the BDCs and the OMCs that, look, the highest you would buy dollars, even in the Forex, is X amount. So don't go beyond a certain threshold. I think MPA should be doing that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the issue of the GOIA.
Very briefly, I just have 30 seconds to wrap up, John.
I think we'll have another time
to expand on that.
There's only one thing I want to say.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut when it comes to the petroleum sector. Even if you go and get the crude cheaper somewhere, your oil refinery has a problem here. Where would you refine that crude? Secondly, Paul cannot refine every type of crude because of the sulfur content and the density. But let's keep talking. At least government should listen, government should
John,
learn.
I'm grateful. Alex Mold, I'm grateful. Mohammed Kudus, I'm grateful. Daisy Atujaba, who is the head corporate and industry relations, Ghana Chamber of Board. I'm grateful you were in the studio with me.
Thank you, Evans.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.